Welcome everyone to World of Warcraft Legion. Today I want to take a look at the tank challenge as played by the Guardian Druid. The Guardian Druid isn't a character I very usually play, so you may see some horrendous plays in this video, and this is basically just acting as a disclaimer, letting you know that this isn't something I usually play. I pretty much picked this up exclusively to do the challenge, so it's not perfectly played and it's not perfectly managed, but as you can see I still managed to struggle through enough to complete this. So hopefully you can pick up some tips that I learned along the way and use those to your advantage. So firstly, I want to talk about the Talon Builds. The pretty much standard talents apply with a few variations. You have your basic Blood Frenzy, get your Rage on your Thrash. The second line, I actually changed this for Wild Charge. The Bear Farm Charge is very useful if you happen to get knocked back by an Infernal. If you can target something quickly enough, you can charge back to it and save yourself from being knocked off. On the third row, Balance Affinity is mandatory for this challenge. The fourth row, I opted for Mighty Bash, however Typhoon is also viable. On the next row, I know Galactic Guardian is the standard, but for this challenge you actually want to take Incarnation. It's much more useful in the final phase, and it just outstrips the usefulness of Galactic Guardian in this case. Next line is Guardian of Elune, very standard, nothing to change there. And on the final one, you want your Rend and Tear. If you have the legendary to give you the 5 stacks of Thrash, this is even more useful, but even without that, it's still basically what you want to take anyway. Okay, so let's take a look at the challenge and the kind of things we want to do. So the legendaries I used for this are Predaz for the Absorption Shield, and Eco Wraith for the increased effective balance affinity. Now you either want one of Eco Wraith or the Lufa Wrappings for the range on Thrash. If you don't have either of those, it's going to be much more difficult to do this, but one of the two works well. You can see I'm just using generic legendaries because I don't have any specific bear ones, but these two worked well enough. Beyond that, having the 40-second trait is also very useful. It just gives your Thrash a little bit extra oomph, and Thrash is the majority of what you do the first phase with. So what I do at the start here is I pre-pot a Prolonged Power Potion, and I Moonfire the boss from range. I just run away and drag him all the way back. You can see Velen runs up to meet him, so I want to get Velen in melee range because Velen's melee attacks are actually very damaging. So at the start, I just pop the Incarnation, I just go to town on this guy, get the 3 stacks of Thrash, wail on him for a little bit. As soon as I'm at 5 stacks of the debuff, I just back out. Now with the range increasing legendaries, if you hug the edge of the circle here, as in like the very edge, you have to get very close. You can pretty much just spam your Thrash via Incarnation, and you can do a ton of damage to the boss. In between this, you just use your Skull Bash to charge in, interrupt the Drain Life, and you just Moonfire the eyes once. If you've got enough gear, usually one Moonfire is enough to kill the eyes off. You keep your Moonfire up on the boss, and you just circle around, spam your Thrash and swipe, keep the dots up on him, and do some range damage. He does hit you pretty hard, so you want to try and keep up your Mark of Ursul to reduce that magic damage, and whenever these Nether Horrors come in, you want to kill them quickly and watch out for this Nether Storm cast they have. If they start casting that, it's going to nuke you down really fast. However, you can use your Intimidating Roar to disorient them and stop that cast. And if you're close to the boss, you can also hit the boss with this roar and stop him from casting for a little bit as well. Beyond that, it's just keep up Mark of Ursul, use your Frenzied Regen when you can, and just heal yourself up via that. One nice tip to consider here is the use of your Rage of the Sleeper. This effect gives you 25% leech, and one of the effects of the Infernals is when they reach low HP, they start taking 10 times increased damage. So a very good use of Rage of the Sleeper is to wait for a bunch of Nether Horrors to spawn in, and an Infernal is on low HP. Pop Rage of the Sleeper, and just AoE spam everything whilst hitting the Infernal, and you can usually leech back most of your HP when doing this. It's a very good health reset just to get yourself back up into safe levels without having to use one of the healing orbs, as you kind of want to save a lot of these orbs for the final phase. Continue to circle around here, just keep AoEing the Nether Horrors as they come. If they cast at all, you really want to stop them as fast as possible because you're going to die very fast if you let them cast. And if you get Velen's position well, he can actually do up to 15 million damage in this phase, which takes a load off you like a great deal. It makes it very simple. However, even if you can't get Velen's position just right, it doesn't matter too much, as it's not really a DPS check in this phase. I mean, I even pushed a little bit early because I didn't have my incarnation back up, so a little bit longer in this phase could have benefited me. The main advantage of pushing fast is you have less Infernals to worry about, but given the fact that you have Wild Charge on Druids, the Infernals aren't as big a deal as they would be on something like a Paladin. So as you near the end of this phase, you want to make sure that you have as much HP as possible transitioning into the Kruul phase, because you don't want to get this far and then just insta-die to Kruul because your HP is too low. So when he pops down, you want to get on him right away. Watch out for the Infernals because they'll still knock you back, and the Nether Horrors will still spawn. Deal with them in the same way as before, just use your Roar to disorient them if they cast. Now Kruul has a few abilities. The most notable of his abilities is this Annihilate cast. All this is a great big nuke on you, and it makes you take increased damage from him. So you can survive about 4 or 5 of these with proper cooldown usage before you're KO'd. And that's pretty much the enrage check on this fight. If you can't kill him before then, you need to do more DPS. The next ability he has is a cast time ability called Twisted Reflection. This ability leaves a debuff on you, and if Kruul melee attacks you while this debuff is up, he leeches an enormous amount of HP from you. You want to interrupt this whenever he casts it. However, if a cast is let through, you can run into one of the glowing orbs left behind by Velen, and this will heal your HP to full and it will clear the debuff from you, which prevents him from abusing that to heal all his HP back. Another highly damaging ability he has is this Nether Stomp. He'll jump at your location and he'll leave this patch of green fire on the ground, and this stuff ticks for a hell of a lot of damage. If he combos this with Annihilation, you can actually go from 100 to 0 before you can even react to it. So for this reason, you want to keep up your Mark of Ursol when he's about to do this. There are timers available for these challenges, however they're not too accurate, but you can just sort of guess it if he hasn't cast the Stomp soon. If he hasn't cast the Stomp lately, then he's probably going to cast it pretty soon. So keep your mark up and be ready to hit Frenzied Regen afterwards, as the extra healing based on the damage you've taken in the last few seconds is going to ramp up because you've taken an enormous amount through the Stomp. Now if you're lucky enough to be a Night Elf, then you can actually cast Shadow Meld when Kruul annihilates, and he'll change target to one of the NPCs instead, and this takes a great deal of strain off the encounter. You can just use this so he casts one Annihilate on them, and it's one extra one off of you, so you're only going to maybe 3 at most, and it makes this phase a lot more simple. If you're not a Night Elf, you can sort of game it a bit where you can run away and he'll cast on someone who's close to him instead of on you, but this is a little bit unreliable. Shadow Meld is the most reliable way to do this. So with all those abilities in mind, all you have to do in this phase is make sure you combo your Incarnation with a DPS potion, and with drums, and with your Rage of the Sleeper. You want to just pump out as much burst damage on this guy as you can. Don't neglect the adds, and if you've saved up enough of the glowing orbs, you can chain them together to stop Kruul from casting Annihilate. Additionally, you can use your Mighty Bash to stop him as well. If you can just delay his Annihilate cast as much as possible, and only go up to 3, maybe 4, then you'll be okay, but any more than that and you'll start to struggle. Honestly, I'm not great at playing Bear, and I managed with just the 4. 3 of them cast on me, and 1 cast on Corvus, so anyone who's got a hope of doing this challenge is probably going to have something similar, if not better. So thanks for watching, hopefully this helps you take down Kruul, and gets you this awkwardish bear skin that doesn't really have very good animations, but I guess it's all about the prestige.